From the sunlit terraces of Tel Aviv, the ancient stones of Jerusalem, and the rolling hills of Galilee, Israel has long been a land of extraordinary contradictions. Hope and fear, triumph and vulnerability, unrelenting innovation, and deep socio-political fault lines. For decades, the dominant narrative about Israel has revolved around Aliyah, the idea that Jews from around the world come to Israel to build a future, to connect with their heritage, and to shape a sovereign Jewish homeland. Yet, in recent years, a countercurrent has emerged, quieter and less heralded, but powerful nonetheless. Tens of thousands of Israelis are leaving. They are not tourists. They are not simply temporarily displaced. Many are choosing to build their lives abroad, and in just a few years, the balance has shifted sharply. The narrative of mass return is fraying. The narrative of exit is growing louder. Why are they leaving? And what does it mean for Israel's future? To understand this turning point, one must first recognize that modern Israeli immigration is not entirely new. Historically, Israel has experienced periods of outward migration, or Yerida, ever since its founding, as people grappled with economic hardship, ideological disillusionment, or the struggles of absorption. As early as the 1990s and into the early 2000s, hundreds of thousands of Israelis spent significant time abroad. According to demographic research from 1990 to 2005, about 230,000 Israelis left for extended stays, many of them immigrants who later reversed course. But the current wave is different, not just in scale, but in its intensity, causes, and the identities of those leaving. In recent years, especially since 2022, immigration from Israel has surged dramatically. A Knesset Research and Information Center report laid this out in stark terms. 59,400 Israelis left in 2022, already a 44% jump over 2021, and by 2023, approximately 82,800 had departed. These numbers marked an inflection point. In 2024, from January to August, nearly 50,000 more Israelis left, roughly matching the same period in 2023. And according to data from the Central Bureau of Statistics, approximately 79,000 Israelis left during the full year of 2024, outnumbering those who returned. This is not a gentle wave. It is being called by some in Israel a tsunami of immigration. M.K. Gilad Kariv, chair of the Knesset's Immigration, Absorption, and Diaspora Committee, warned that this mass departure of Israeli citizens poses a strategic threat to the country's future. Over the period between early 2022 and August 2024, the net migration balance, the number of long-term immigrants minus returnees, was negative by about 125,200 people. What lies behind this massive shift? The reasons are deeply interwoven: political, social, psychological, economic, and existential. First, there is the security dimension. The shockwave of October 7, 2023, when Hamas carried out a large-scale attack that claimed the lives of more than 1,000 Israelis and resulted in hostages, was deeply traumatic. In that month alone, data from the Central Bureau of Statistics suggests that over 12,000 Israelis left permanently, a nearly 285% increase compared to the same month in the previous year. While the number of immigrations slowed somewhat in the subsequent months, the return rates did not rebound. Far fewer Israelis came back than before, signaling that for many, the choice to leave was not temporary. The sense of insecurity, of a world where violence can erupt unexpectedly, seems to have pushed some to search for stability elsewhere. Second, the domestic political climate has contributed heavily. Israel has endured years of sharp political polarization, mass protests, repeated elections, and contentious reforms, particularly around the judiciary. For many Israelis, especially those in the educated, liberal, or secular segments of society, the direction of government feels increasingly unpredictable and alienating. The political unrest they fear is not just cyclical, it is reshaping the fabric of Israeli democratic life. Some who once believed deeply in Zionist ideals now feel alienated from the evolving social contract. Third, economic pressures are pushing people out. The cost of living in Israel has long been high, with housing, taxes, and social inequality putting strain on middle-class and professional households. But beyond that, Immigration is taking a toll on the economy in reverse. Those leaving are disproportionately young, educated, and in their prime working years. According to the Knesset report, a large portion of immigrants are between 20 and 39 years old, those most likely to contribute to innovation, to found businesses, to raise families. Their exodus threatens a brain drain, a hemorrhaging of human capital that Israel's economy and its global competitive edge cannot afford lightly. Fourth, the societal and cultural transformations within Israel itself are feeding into the exodus. For some, there is disillusionment with a vision of Israel as a liberal, pluralistic democracy. As political power steadily shifts, many feel that the country is no longer the open, free society they once embraced, particularly under governments aligned with conservative or religious factions. The shift is not just political, but also demographic. As more ultra-Orthodox, Haredi, Israelis gain influence, and as the secular or liberal population feels less at home, some choose to redefine their lives abroad rather than adapt. This sense of cultural alienation is deeply personal, touching identity, belonging, and values. Another dimension is the changing nature of what home means for many Israelis. In a globalized, mobile world, the appeal of building a life abroad has grown. For highly educated Israelis working in major global hubs, Europe, North America, parts of Asia, can offer more than just economic opportunity. It offers quality of life, freedom, and a chance to distance oneself from the constant unpredictability of conflict. Reports show many Israeli immigrants are settling in Europe, rejuvenating Jewish communities there, and integrating into more cosmopolitan milieus. Moreover, in some cases, those leaving do so quietly and gradually. They go on extended stays, work abroad, or pursue dual citizenship. For many, the departure is not a dramatic severing, but a gentle drifting away, a redefinition of being Israeli in a transnational way. Within the political system, there is also clear frustration that the Israeli government has yet to come up with a coherent plan to reverse or even mitigate this trend. The Knesset committee has raised alarms, but concrete policies remain elusive. Efforts to encourage return migration, to make Israel more hospitable to the very citizens who are leaving, have not kept pace with the exodus. Beyond policy, there is a deeper psychological toll. Immigration is not simply a logistical decision. It is laden with emotional weight. For those who leave, there is guilt. The guilt of abandoning the country, of betraying communal responsibility, of turning their back on a homeland. For those who stay, there is anxiety. How long before another friend, colleague, neighbor is gone? For a society built on the ideal of collective belonging, this quietly growing diaspora challenges a foundational narrative that Israel is not just a place to live, but a people to belong to. What does this all mean for Israel's future? The consequences are profound. First, the demographic and economic impact. As the net migration turns negative, population growth slows. Indeed, year-end statistics from the Central Bureau of Statistics show this trend. Despite natural increase through births, the net effect of more people leaving than returning has dragged down population growth. Second, there is the risk of a long-term brain drain. When people in their 20s, 30s, and 40s leave, they don't just take their skills, they take their innovation, their energy, their entrepreneurial spirit. Without a serious policy to retain talent and to persuade departed Israelis to return, Israel risks weakening its competitive edge globally. Third, there is a symbolic and existential challenge to Zionism itself. For decades, the Zionist project was about sacred return. Jews from around the world came to Israel to build a homeland. While Aliyah remains a powerful force, the rising numbers of Israelis leaving raises difficult questions. Is Israel still the immutable center of Jewish life? Or is it becoming, for some, a temporary chapter? This shift could reshape how future generations understand Jewish identity, nationhood, and belonging. Finally, there is the issue of political legitimacy and social cohesion. Leaders like M.K. Kareev are sounding alarms, calling for urgent strategies to bring people back and to stabilize the exodus. But if immigration continues unchecked, Israel may find that one of its greatest strengths, its unity, is increasingly fragmented not just internally, but across continents. The silent leaving of tens of thousands does not only signal discontent, it signals a reorientation of where Israelis see their future. In conclusion, the idea that 200,000 Israelis have quietly left is less a precise statistic than a potent metaphor for a historic shift in national consciousness. Over recent years, and with growing velocity since 2022, and especially after October 2023, immigration from Israel has surged. Fueled by insecurity, political polarization, economic pressures, and shifting cultural identities, a significant number of Israelis, young, educated, and ambitious, are choosing to build their futures beyond the borders of the Jewish state. This is not simply a logistical migration. It is a deeply symbolic moment. The Exodus carries with it questions about what it means to be Israeli, what the promise of Zionism now stands for, and how a society grapples with internal tensions even as it projects itself on the global stage. If this trend continues, Israel could face not just a demographic challenge, but an existential one, and how it responds will shape the character of the nation for decades to come.